Welcome to Dig List, the latest episode of the Quarry Podcast. I'm joined in the studio by Simon and Ian Campbell and a very special AI assistant who's going to do the introduction for me today.
Hi, Emma. Can you just introduce yourself and just tell everybody about what this podcast is about? Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's dive right in. So, hello, everyone. I'm Emma, and this podcast is all about AI and digital transformation right here in Guernsey. What we're doing is unpacking how businesses and the community can embrace AI in a friendly, practical way. Think of me as your approachable AI consultant giving you the inside scoop. In today's episode, we're setting the scene by talking about how AI isn't here to steal jobs, but to actually help make work more productive and create new opportunities. We'll chat about upskilling the community, embedding AI literacy in schools, and just demystifying the whole process. And yes, we'll keep it snappy and relatable for our Guernsey listeners.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Could we just start setting the scene for people that might be fearful of AI, might not even know what AI is about? Could you just give us a little bit of background to start us up?
Yes. So basically, AI is just another technology tool that's come into our community, our workplace, our home. It's been around for a long time. It's not new. The early adopters were in the community would have been Amazon users, so those people that bought those Amazon Echo Dots all those years ago. In essence, they were talking to an AI. Siri's been around for a long time. People have been talking to Siri on their phone for a long time. But the real break was in 2023 when GPT-3 came out, and that came out into our home environment, but also more importantly into our business community. And I think that's where the adoption of AI really started.
And how would you describe the level of adoption that we've got in Guernsey at the moment? You're obviously offering a lot of training courses at the GTA, so it's changed even what you're doing now. Right?
Yeah. I think you need to look at it as a journey. And I think that a number of organisations are starting out on that journey. So looking at sort of generative AI, the tools that they might use, the chat GPT, the Copilot, etc. Further down that journey, you've got sort of fully autonomous AI and the agentic AI. But I think Guernsey, we're probably just starting out on that journey. But we are seeing a number of businesses recognising that it can have a huge impact on their business in terms of productivity and doing more with less. So starting out, but I think we're seeing more and more people recognising it as an important tool.
Emma, do you have any thoughts on where AI could play an important part in Guernsey's workplace?
Absolutely. Let's keep it nice and snappy for the podcast. When we're talking about where AI fits into Guernsey's workplace, we can focus on a few relatable angles. First off, Guernsey's got this blend of a tight-knit business community and a drive to stay competitive globally. That means AI can be a real game changer, especially for local industries like finance, legal services, and even emerging tech-savvy sectors. We'll want to highlight that AI isn't just about replacing jobs. It's more about boosting productivity and opening up new career paths. For example, we might touch on how smaller firms on the island can start with phased AI adoption, maybe just automating a few routine tasks first. Then we can talk about the importance of training and upskilling, like running local workshops or using the digital greenhouse to help folks get comfortable with AI. In short, we'll keep it grounded in what makes sense for Guernsey. We can say, look, AI is a fantastic opportunity for the island if we approach it practically. Focus on augmenting jobs, not replacing them, and build AI literacy right to our local education and business training. That way, it's all very relatable and encouraging for the listeners.
And in terms of AI literacy, what do we really mean by AI literacy?
So AI literacy in plain terms is just making sure people understand what AI is and what it isn't. It's about giving folks the basic know-how so they can make informed decisions, whether they're business leaders or employees. Think of it like digital literacy, but with a focus on AI tools. In Guernsey, that might mean running community sessions, simple workshops, or just having clear info out there so that everyone on the island feels a bit more comfortable with the concept. In a nutshell, it's just about demystifying AI so it's not this big, scary black box and people can actually use it confidently.
And in terms of those tools, give me 5 examples of what AI could do in the workplace.
Sure thing. Let me toss out a handful of examples. First, AI can handle routine admin tasks, think scheduling or sorting emails, just to save everyone a bit of time. Second, it can help with customer service, like having a chatbot answer common questions. Third, it can crunch data for you, giving insights into trends or helping with financial forecasting. Fourth, it can support compliance by automatically checking documents against regulations. And fifth, it can personalize marketing efforts, tailoring what you offer to customers based on their preferences. All of these are pretty down-to-earth ways AI can just slot into the workplace in Guernsey or anywhere else.
And what are the key challenges with AI as well? What are the shortfalls?
Yeah, definitely good to touch on the flip side. So in a nutshell, the big challenges around AI are things like data privacy, making sure you handle information responsibly, and also just trust and transparency. You need to be clear about how decisions are made so people actually trust the AI. Another biggie is making sure you're not accidentally building in biases so the AI is fair. And then there's the whole piece around upskilling the workforce so people aren't left behind. Finally, you've got to think about regulatory compliance, especially in a place like Guernsey, where you've got to stay in line with local and international standards. So those are the key hurdles. And if you tackle them head on, you'll have a smoother AI journey.
Simon, in terms of people coming to you at the GTA, where are they at, and what kind of trends are you seeing?
So we're seeing Ian's been doing a lot of training. We've probably been doing about 15, 18 months now that we've been training. And we started probably a little bit even earlier than then with just sort of general awareness. But quite quickly, we realized that what people really needed was hands-on techniques. I suppose prompt engineering is something that we spent a lot of time doing. People are coming to us at different stages and levels of expertise. But I think for those that have never touched it before, it's often a confidence thing. I think Anna just talked about how it's a big scary thing and you don't know where to start. But actually, if you start with a non-code tool like ChatGPT, it's quite easy to get into it and start using it. So what we found is that in a relatively short 3-hour training session, it's amazing. People, leave the room with mouth wide open that this is what it can do for you with just 3 hours of training. So I think it really is a game changer.
And your experience of that as well, Ian?
Yeah, so generally the training, what we try and do is open the window on AI. So we try and show, look, this is how you prompt it, but this is where the technology is going. This is how you can track the technology so you can see what's going on in 2026, because there's various channels you can follow on YouTube that help you understand where the technology is going. This is where we are in the evolution. We're very much using it like a chat bot at the moment, but at some point it'll be used in more an agentic manner, so it'll be able to carry out tasks for you. So we kind of educate the delegates that come, not just how to use it, but what you can be doing with it in 18 months' time. We show them what the different tools are, how to build agentic systems, how to build your own custom AI, because it's pretty easy to do. So we teach them all that within 3 hours. It's quite a lot in a 3-hour time to do that. But we want to give people the experience of how to do that, but also show them how easy it is. So there's no barrier.
So we've seen, I suggest, a really big uptick or acceleration in how the technology works and how reliable it is, and especially in the last year. So I think we've moved from people writing bad poetry into actually making it a really useful everyday tool. Could you just give us some examples of what it can do and also what it can't?
So you're right. In 2023, when it first came out, when it first became mainstream, people were writing poetry. They were playing with it. And last year, 2024, still playing with it. And 2025 this year we've got adoption starting. So people are starting to adopt it. They're putting in Copilot, starting to do things with Copilot, starting to realize there's limitations with Copilot, and starting then to bring in the enterprise version of OpenAI, ChatGPT, looking at Google Gemini as well, the other model that's out there. And they're starting to bring it into their organization. Definitely when I was talking to or when they were coming on the training course in 2024, they were thinking about, how am I going to implement this? When I do training courses now, a lot of them have an AI strategy that they've written. I did one on a few days ago, and they'd written the AI strategy. They wanted to go on the course to learn more about it. So they know they've got to bring it in, and they know they've got to adopt it. They know that's going to change the working environment in the office. But this is not a new thing. The working environment in the office has changed before. 1980 into 1990 into 2000, we had a massive change in the office environment when the PC tech revolution came in and word processors came in. So this is, another cycle, another tech cycle that we're going through, but far, far greater, far more. There's far more implications with this tech cycle than the previous ones.
And are we finding when people coming through your doors that you spoke about AI policies and having an AI policy in place? Is that something that businesses have adopted to a good scale, or are we seeing a bit of piecemeal adoption? You've got some employees using it on the side and that kind of thing, and their bosses don't know.
That's right. That's exactly what's happening. So when they come on the course, one of the things that we say is, have you got an AI policy? And when we first did it, nobody put their hand up. If did it now, probably 50% would put their hand up. So it's important to have an AI policy in your organisation, because you want your employees are going to be using AI whether you like it or not. They'll use it on the side, like you said. And what you don't want them to be using insecure AI systems. You don't want them to upload your company data into a Chinese version, say DeepSeek, something like that, because DeepSeek will take your information, it will steal from you, because they blatantly say on their terms and conditions that they'll do that. And you don't want to upload stuff into an AI that's not GDPR compliant if your policy within your organization is to be a GDPR compliant. So you need to have an AI policy that educates the workforce to say, look, you cannot use these tools on your personal devices because you don't know where the data's going, and we've got a GDPR policy. So I think that's step one. Step two is then bring in your safe AI into your own corporate environment that is GDPR compliant and is locked down and is trained properly to enable the employees to use that tool, because they're going to bypass it if you don't.
Just to add to that, I think one of the most successful courses, which is very encouraging, is Ian's run a sort of variant for directors. So having those conversations in the boardroom and setting the guardrails in place for the employees is really, really important. And then obviously, once you get it in the organisation, I think you need to understand how you're going to use it, because it's all very well having this wonderful, shiny new tool, but it's not a silver bullet for everything. What are you actually going to do with it? So approaching it from a sort of strategic perspective and then playing with it and adopting it.
Turning to you, Emma, are there any skills that you think the modern workforce will need to really concentrate on to be able to adopt AI successfully?
Absolutely. Let's keep it punchy for the podcast. In a nutshell, the workforce in Guernsey, and really anywhere diving into AI, needs to hone a few key skills. First off, it's all about digital literacy and AI literacy. People need to get comfortable with the basics of how AI tools work and what they can do without the jargon. Another biggie is adaptability, being ready to learn new things as AI evolves. And finally, soft skills are gold. Critical thinking, ethical reasoning, and just good old-fashioned problem solving are going to be what lets people use AI smartly. So in short, it's about blending tech savviness with the human skills that machines can't easily replace.
Can it help with productivity as well? Are we going to see workers that may have been seen as less skilled traditionally, but by using AI, they become more skilled?
Absolutely, and that's a really exciting angle. In a nutshell, AI can be a great equalizer. You might have folks who weren't traditionally seen as tech experts, but once they have the right AI tools in their hands, they can actually become a lot more productive and skilled. It's kind of like giving someone a power tool instead of just a hand tool. They can do more and they can do it better. So yes, you're going to see a lot of roles upskilled through AI, especially in places like Guernsey, where businesses are looking to do more with the talent they already have.
And I think it's a really important point for Guernsey, isn't it? When we're looking at productivity and an economy that has flatlined in the last decade or so, that this could really supercharge what we do and what we can offer.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. For a place like Guernsey, where boosting productivity is top of mind, AI can be that accelerator. It's not just about fancy tech. It's about giving local businesses the tools to compete on a bigger stage and get more out of their people. So yeah, in a nutshell, AI could definitely help Guernsey punch above its weight economically.
I think also, Emma, doesn't it free up human thinking? So a lot of office workers, a lot of directors that are running businesses are very bogged down with the day-to-day administrative tasks. So they don't have a lot of time to think about strategy. That brain time that you've got to think about strategy or think about the future of the company and moving things forward is limited because of the admin you have, the amount of reporting you have to do, et cetera, et cetera. So AI, in a way, is a liberator. What do you think about that?
Yeah, spot on. I'd say AI is definitely a liberator in that sense. In other words, it's taking a lot of that admin load off people's plates. So if you're a business leader or even just a manager in Guernsey, you suddenly have more mental bandwidth to actually think about the big picture, like where the company's heading and what strategic moves to make. So absolutely, AI is not just a productivity booster, it's a bit of a thinking time creator, and that's a huge advantage.
I was keen to talk about some of like the practical examples, Ian. You spoke about it giving leaders and staff more time to think almost, but what can AI do that we're getting bogged down with at the moment?
So, I mean, in a business environment, I've run a business before a few times, and the things that used to bog me down were, replying to emails, writing reports, board reports. When you get to the end of the quarter, you have appraisals to do. All these things consume vast amounts of time and use a lot of resource within the organisation. I wish I had these tools. I wish I could take these tools back 10 years ago because it would have really helped me become a lot more productive as a person. So I could have automated a lot of those tasks. So I could have got that automation into the environment, which had freed up people's time. It would enable us to be more strategic. So, I mean, I think it's a real shame that when you're working for a company, you've only got so much mental capacity, and if all that mental capacity is being used up through day-to-day administrative tasks, or you've got that board meeting you have to do at the end of the quarter and all that preparation for that board meeting, then you've got your annual reviews, your quarterly reviews. All these things get in the way of you moving a company forward, and you can get the year can disappear super fast. And then you think, what did I achieve? Well, I did all my board meetings and I did all those tasks, but did I really move the company forward in the right way? Oh, no, I didn't, because I didn't have the mental capacity to do that. So I think that's what these tools will bring.
I think it's going to also depend on your company and what the pain points are for your company. So, for example, we've just put in place a new system whereby when customers book on our courses, rather than my team having to write an email to respond to those, AI will now generate, it will look at who the customer is, their history, what they've done before, and will send a response to them. So for us, that was a pain point and was taking a lot of time, and now AI is doing it for us. So it will depend on what those pain points are for you.
Just in general, do you think many businesses in Guernsey are well placed to adopt AI? I mean, we talk about this automation, but a lot of this has to be based on good data in the background as well. It can't be based on dusty filing cabinets. So where are we in this?
My view is businesses are well placed. I mean, there's a lot of very well run businesses here, and I think what Guernsey suffers from is a lack of resource. So a lot of businesses can't expand here because they can't get the people. So everyone's kind of at capacity. So these tools are like another resource, another type of resource. So rather than having humans come in, you've got machines coming in that can help unload that burden, that resource burden that you have. So in terms of the data, it's just like having a human in the organization. You have to have the right data for that human to be able to process properly, because that's what they're doing. So if you've got the right data for the human, it's going to be okay for the machine. If you haven't got the right data, the human's going to get it wrong as well as the machine. So I think most companies' data is pretty good from what I've seen and my experience as well in companies.
And let's maybe look to the future as well. We spoke a little bit about the pace of adoption, but also the pace of how the technology has been moving on. And in the time that you've been offering these courses, how has that technology changed and advanced?
Changed a lot. So even I've been staggered. So yes, when we first started doing the courses in early 2024, it was impressive then, but it was limited on how many documents the AI could look at and read. It was limited in its reasoning. I mean, at the time, we thought it was very good, the reasoning, but I would say the reasoning has got a lot better, a lot more sophisticated. In fact, there's a new version, we were talking about it earlier, came out last night, version 5.2 from OpenAI, and looking at the reasoning levels, it's gone up again. But so I think that the changes will change quite significantly over the next 12 months. It's been driven by three things, really. One, by the underlying hardware. So NVIDIA bought out a new GPU about 3 months ago, which has the same computing power as the Sierra Computing Center in the United States, which is the third largest computing center in the world. They bought out a small module, that equals the power of that computing center. And OpenAI have bought, I think, 800 of those modules that they're going to deploy next year. So the underlying hardware will drive this technology a lot faster. Then in the United States, the industrialization of data centers, if you look, there's about $500 billion investment in building data centers, which is an incredible amount of money. They are building huge amounts of data centers in Texas, Arizona, places like that, with power stations sitting alongside the data centers. So they're going to populate those data centers throughout 2026. And then you've got the models themselves. The models are evolving themselves. So there's three things happening that will really come together, I think, Q3, Q4 next year, and we'll see an incremental change in the technology. So what we're seeing today, is good and it's impressive, but we're not. I don't believe we're at stage 1 yet of 10. I think we'll be on stage 1 next year.
Does that present you some challenges naturally as well with the kind of courses that you're putting on, and how do you respond to that?
I think we have to just keep pace with it. And it's great that we have tutors like Ian who really are at the cutting edge of what's going on here, because obviously it's moving very, very quickly. And I think actually we put on a course which was, I think, 2 months apart, and you had to rewrite the course because it had moved so quickly. I mean, I was at a conference in September, and the same person I'd met was at that conference 2 years before. And that 2 years before, they were using generative AI to source hotels for business trips. Now they're at the fully agentic AI stage, where the AI is not just sourcing those, but it's booking that travel for them. And I think Ian's right. I think we're now at the stage where with agentic AI, when we finally get there, that's where we're going to see a huge transformation.
Yeah, that is the next iteration. So we've got these standalone systems that we can write to, talk to, like we are now with Emma. But the next stage is agentic systems that will carry out tasks for you. So they will start replacing humans that carry out those tasks.
Emma, could you give me some good examples of what agentic AI could do? Maybe 3 or 4 good scenarios where it would help us out.
Absolutely. Let's keep it snappy and relatable to Guernsey. So, if we're talking about how agentic AI can shine in a few scenarios right here on the island, here are 3 examples off the top of my head. First, think about local businesses in finance and insurance, which are huge here. Agentic AI can handle a lot of the routine client queries, freeing up the team to focus on more complex, human-centered tasks. It's like giving them a digital co-pilot. Second, for tourism and hospitality, which are also key in Guernsey, AI can help personalize visitor experiences. Imagine an AI that suggests bespoke itineraries for tourists, helping them discover local gems that suit their interests. It's a win for local businesses and for visitors. And third, think about government services. Agentic AI can streamline public administration by handling basic inquiries or even automating some aspects of local planning applications. That way, civil servants can focus on more strategic community planning. All in all, it's about using AI as a helpful sidekick. And for Guernsey, it's a great way to stay both efficient and personal, whether you're a small business or a local authority.
Emma, just on that, so let's just pick on one piece of automation then. So if you're a financial services company, and there's a lot of regulation within financial services, and you want to set up an agentic system to, say, adverse media checks on clients. So you've got a database of 10,000 clients, you regularly have to do adverse media checks on that. How could an agentic system solve that problem?
Sure, let's zero in on that. So if you're a financial services firm in a heavily regulated space and you need to run adverse media checks on a big client database, an agentic AI system can basically become your super efficient filter. Instead of having humans manually comb through news articles or databases for red flags, the AI can continuously scan and flag anything that looks risky. In other words, it's automating that whole due diligence layer. The AI can pull in data from all sorts of media sources, run checks in the background, and only alert you when it finds something that genuinely needs a human eye. It's a big time saver and a great way to stay compliant without drowning in manual effort.
That's great. That's a brilliant example and something really relevant to the island as well. Do you think we're going to go there? Do you think that this is where Guernsey should head?
So Emma, do you think we'll go there? Do you think that's really going to happen in real life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's not just a possibility, it's pretty likely. Guernsey's already got a strong financial services sector that prides itself on staying ahead of the curve. So bringing in AI to handle these kinds of compliance tasks is a natural next step. It's practical, it's going to save time, and it's going to keep businesses right where they need to be on the regulatory front. In other words, I think Guernsey's definitely going to head that way, and it'll just make everyone's life a little bit easier and a little bit more efficient.
That's brilliant, Emma. Thank you. Simon, do you feel that the business community is embracing the need to upskill their workforce as much as they could be? Do you have the capacity to deliver what they need as well?
I think in pockets, I think people need to recognize that now, I mean, there's a famous phrase, work is learning and learning is work. And those two are absolutely meshed together. And if you're not constantly upskilling, then you're falling behind. And I think Guernsey perhaps could sharpen up there. What we see sometimes is that in an organisation where perhaps a role has become redundant, they will not reskill that person into another role that might be needed. So I think we need to do a bit better, yes.
It feels like a really strong opportunity as well to keep your workforce engaged, but engaged in different ways in terms of adding to their skill set.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things about AI is that it enables the personalization of learning. So obviously up to now, I'm thinking of something like Duolingo, which people might be familiar with. There's an AI in there that you can actually practice speaking to, and it will respond and on topics that you want to talk to. So you can now, if you have a certain goal, whether it be in a workspace or in a outside of work, you can tell the AI, this is what I want to do. I want to learn French. I want to focus on the grammar, and it will be able to help you achieve that goal. And the fact also is that it's a just-in-time solution. So you're not having to wait 6 months for a training course to learn how to calculate the net present value of something. You can literally work with an AI and it can teach you that, and you can train with it in minutes. So it's a game changer massively.
Yeah, it feels like a great opportunity as well for people that have ideas. Though they wouldn't necessarily in the past have been able to implement those ideas. I'm thinking coding solutions, building websites, all sorts of things that it's an ideas economy. It's rather than a skills, hard skills economy there.
So it's very good at that. So I use it a lot for that. So if I've got a new idea or I want to build something, or I've been commissioned to build an AI system for someone, very often I'll build an AI assistant to help me do that. So I'll train the AI assistant on that client, what they want to do, the objectives. I'll feed in all the emails into its knowledge. So I feed loads of information into it. So it becomes my expert that sits alongside me to help me design and scope out and ultimately build that solution. Now, in the past, I'd need a team of people to help me do that, but I don't. I can do it on my own, which is fantastic.
I think also it's a really good way. You may have an idea and that gets you 80% of the way. Then you've got something you can present to someone, haven't you? That may be able to like just polish up the...
Yeah, you can use that tool to present. So I use it to present. I've even given a version of that AI to the client. Said, look, I've put everything about this project in there. You query it, you ask it questions, you make sure that it's got an understanding of the project. And if it hasn't, we'll fill in the gaps. So it's a good collaboration tool.
Somebody described it to me as you never need to start from a blank piece of paper again, because you've always got somewhere to start. The assistant can help you. You obviously need to check that it's not always going to give you the right answers. It's works on probability, so you need to check. But yeah, you never have that blank piece of paper.
So let's cast an eye to the future, and this feels like a bit of a fool's game when it comes to AI, just given the pace of development. But where do you see this going, and what are the key opportunities for the island here?
So obviously, I see it as another industrial revolution. So we've been through a revolution before, in the office when we brought in computers into the office. So I see this as a industrial revolution within the office, and I see that cognitive tasks in the office are going to be replaced with this type of technology. So if you look at the knowledge, we call it a knowledge economy, or if you look at cognitive tasks, if you look at, these are cognitive assistants, these are cognitive tools that can do jobs that humans can do. So I think ultimately, when you walk through an office today and you see hundreds of people sitting in front of a computer doing stuff, and you don't quite know what they're doing, they're answering emails, answering the phone, putting things into a CRM system, entering stuff into an accounting system, I think a lot of those jobs will be replaced by agentic systems. Logically, that's going to happen. So I think the office environment will look a lot different to the office environment that we see today. I also think there'll be new jobs that we can't think of today in the same way in the 1980s and 1990s. We could never have envisaged the type of jobs that are around today. I think there'll be more smaller companies, a lot more smaller businesses, because people like myself, Simon, you, the starting a business now has never been so easy. The barrier to entry is so low now, so you can spin up 5 or 6 AI assistants to help you, and you can be pretty effective pretty quickly. And that situation is only going to get better.
I think it is gonna level us up. I think we're all gonna have to upskill, and hopefully that's good, because it will mean that we'll be able to work on more interesting work, which people are obviously crying out for, and higher value work as well, with the AIs doing the more routine tasks. But where it's going to go, I mean, who really knows? I mean, I saw a presentation by Zach Cass, who was involved with the launch of OpenAI, and he talks about 3 phases. And this was about 3 years ago, where he talks about the generative AI tools. We've talked about the agentic AI, and then he talks about the next phase being wearables and implants, where the AI is actually within you. And people sort of rail back at that. But actually, you think about it, we have pacemakers already, and wouldn't you want something that could tell you how you were feeling and if you needed to drink more fluid? So it's going to be a very interesting future.
It's interesting because we're all sitting here with watches on that are monitoring our heart rates and all sorts of things. So we're already there to an extent. It's just our level of acceptability. It just takes time, I guess, sometimes. Yeah.
I think the opportunity for Guernsey is productivity. So the island's got a problem. It's not earning enough income. GDP is not high enough. So the government reacts to that by taxing us all over the place. The productivity within the private sector can't grow because they don't have the resources to grow. So in a way, terrible as it may sound, there's going to be a freeing up of resources. Therefore, those resources can be retrained and deployed back into industry, and that will enable companies to grow. So I think there's a problem here in Guernsey. We're confined to an island, and we can only grow as big as the workforce that we have. So suddenly you've got a new workforce coming in, which is based inside a data center, and you can deploy thousands, if you want, of agentic helpers to help you. So your ability to grow is huge.
And I think it extends beyond just the workplace as well, because obviously skills, yes, they can increase productivity and growth, but also they help with social outcomes and living. And I think if we were to help the community and again give the community these tools, sort of AI literacy programs, that would help them. I heard an example of it was an Indian father who was mad on cricket, but his son only wanted to play football, and he knew nothing about football. But his son was quite good at football, so he wanted to help get him along the thing. So he used AI to teach him a bit about football, but then to create a program for his son in terms of the training drills, and if he had a weak left foot, how he could improve his left foot. So, it's not just the workplace. These extend to other areas of life as well.
And do you think in terms of the GTA, are you going to have to expand your offering? Do you think there needs to be more resources within that kind of education space?
Yeah, definitely. I'd really like to see it. I mean, there are some countries with perhaps greater wealth and resource than us who are now rolling out tools like ChatGPT to the community. And I think we do need the Guernsey Institute is putting on some great sort of maths and English courses for those guys who maybe hadn't got them at school. And I think we need to be doing the same with AI literacy, so that people can actually they're not scared of using these tools. Because I think, going back to Emma's point, it is a scary thing until you get into it. Giving people the confidence to use them, and then just seeing where it can take us.
take a forward-looking stance at this, and in 5 years' time, you've got 5 themes that you can pick for Guernsey. What should we be addressing?
Absolutely. Let's keep it tight. So if we're looking 5 years ahead for Guernsey, here are the big themes. Number 1, focus on AI skills for the local workforce, just making sure people are ready. Number 2, think about how AI can help the island's financial and professional services stay competitive. Number 3, let's keep it ethical and compliant with whatever UK and local regulations are evolving. Number 4, let's look at how AI can boost tourism and local services. And number 5, definitely make sure to have a resilient data strategy in place. So those are the big 5 themes for Guernsey's AI journey.
Yeah, Emma, so that's really interesting. So let's talk a little bit about job transformation. So we know that these AI systems are going to come in, agentic systems are going to come in. So that's going to transform the office environment and the work environment. And that's going to mean that there's going to be humans replaced by machines, which is quite a controversial topic, I know, but we need to discuss it. So, but that's also an opportunity, and those humans can be retrained to do tasks in other environments and other work environments. So what is your view on that in the next 3 years?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a hot topic and you're spot on. In the next 3 years, what we're really looking at is a shift rather than a total replacement. So yes, some tasks might get automated, but that opens up opportunities for people in Guernsey to reskill into higher value roles. So the key is really making sure there's a plan for that retraining and making it practical and accessible. In short, it's a challenge, but with a bit of planning, can definitely be turned into an opportunity.
Yeah, Emma, I agree with that. But is that, who takes on that challenge? Because individual businesses can't take on that challenge because it's at a sort of micro level. But at a macro level, isn't that a government initiative, a government responsibility to think, okay, this is how the landscape's going to look? We've got a workforce here of 24,000 people, something like that. How do we retrain these people to make them useful to society, to ensure they earn money, et cetera, in this new environment that's coming?
Absolutely. And that's a great point. So it really is a partnership. Government does have a big role to play, especially in a place like Guernsey. They can set up frameworks, they can help fund retraining programs, and they can kind of guide businesses so that it's not all on the individual firms. But it's also about businesses collaborating, sharing best practices, and making sure everyone's kind of on the same page. So in short, it's a joint effort. The government can lead, but businesses definitely have to come along for the ride.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a barrier, isn't there? So a lot of those businesses are, they've got trade unions in them that their role is not to enable this to happen. Really, their role is to protect the workforce ultimately. So that's a conflicting thing. And also in government, there's legislation which makes it very difficult to transform the workplace because you've got protection in place to protect humans from being made redundant, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very, very difficult phase that we're going to go through, isn't it, in the next 3 years?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a balancing act. You've got unions on one side wanting to protect workers, and you've got regulations that are there for a reason. So yes, it's going to be a tricky phase. But I think the key is dialogue. If everyone, government, businesses, unions can have a conversation about how to do this in a way that's fair, but still forward-looking, then you can navigate those barriers. So yeah, a bit of a challenge, but not impossible if everyone's willing to talk it through.
Yeah, I mean, Guernsey's been through it before. So, it used to be an island of growers. So it grew tomatoes and flowers. And now it's predominantly financial services. So it's been through that before, but the pace was a lot slower. But in the next 3 years, the pace is a lot faster.
Absolutely, and that's a perfect analogy. Guernsey's reinvented itself before, just at a gentler pace. This time around, we're just hitting the fast forward button. But the same principles apply. If the island can adapt once, it can adapt again. It's just about being a bit more agile, a bit more proactive, and making sure everyone's on board quickly. So yeah, it's a quicker transition, but Guernsey's got the track record to do it.
And I think that historical context is quite important as well, because one of the barriers is people saying, well, AI is going to take jobs, and maybe they're a little bit scared and wary of that. But actually, if you look at history and technological advancements, they don't take jobs. Generally, the net result is that productivity and jobs increase, going right back to the Industrial Revolution that you talked earlier. So I think we need to get past that. And obviously, if they did take jobs, if you think about the number of technological advances we've had, none of us would have a job. So we need to move past that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great perspective. History really does show that every time we have a big wave of tech, people worry about losing jobs. But what actually happens is that new kinds of work pop up, productivity goes up, and society adapts. And that's the mindset shift that's really important. Seeing AI as just the next wave of tools that we'll learn to use rather than something that's going to wipe out work. And Guernsey can definitely lean on its own history of adaptation to help people get comfortable with that idea. So in short, exactly, let's move past the fear and into seeing the possibilities.
That's brilliant, Emma. Should I just turn to you again, Ian? We spoke a little bit there about the public sector and the role of the states. Do you think the states is in the right place at the moment? And I'm thinking in terms of big picture strategy, but I'm also thinking in terms of how the public sector's operating as well. So there's two strands to that question.
Sorry, can you be a bit more specific?
I could be a bit more specific. so let's think about this. Let's go specifically into the states in terms of its working practices at a public sector level. We've seen two big IT projects.
Yes.
Admittedly go quite badly wrong, according to the chief exec and some reports that have been done into it. So how can we have faith that the states is going to adapt as quickly as it should do to AI and using AI?
Well, it's a difficult question because I don't work within the government.
Sorry, turn it on its head. What would your advice be to a large organisation that is looking to adopt?
Yeah, so I think for the government, there's a massive opportunity for them. So I do see that they are inundated with information. So I think one of the problems that politicians have, and I wouldn't want to be a politician because I couldn't cope with the amount of information you have to read. So I think for politicians, you can make their life a lot easier because you've got these systems that today can help them understand reports, because some of the reports are quite technical. I've read the electricity strategy report. I actually did read that report, and it's quite complicated. And I've got an engineering background, and I found it complicated. So how, as a general politician, meant to understand that stuff? So I think if you load that into an AI, it can help you. It can help transform that data from one type into a more layman term data that you can understand. So I think for politicians, it can help make their life more efficient. For civil servants, they're producing a lot of information, a lot of documentation, and I think these tools can help write that documentation for them. So they have the billet, and there's no reason why an AI couldn't write that billet from A to Z all the way through with the right guidance and the right input, and that would be a massive time saving for them. They've got the policy documents; it can write those policy documents. So yes, within government, it would have a dramatic impact. And I think the government, I know they do have working groups on AI, and I know they're looking at it, and I know that at some point they'll have to adopt it in an aggressive manner because they'll want to become more efficient and produce work a lot faster than they do at the moment.
And I guess you touched on the macro level. So let's think about strategy that government can set. Where are we in the right place with that, or do we need to change and actually see an AI policy, essentially?
I think it's quite early. I think it's quite early for government to start writing an AI policy right now today. I think 2026, it would be nice to see something come out. And then end of 2026, some quite aggressive initiatives, because the technology will be a step on Q3, Q4 2026. So I think that's the right time for government to step in and start building some really clever systems to help them.
Do you have any thoughts there, Simon, as well?
Yeah, I think Bowley, I was obviously new in post as well, and I know that he's got a working group, and a number of civil servants are trialling ChatGPT, for example. So I think he's making some really good inroads there, but as Ian says, it's probably a bit early days.
And just to sum up the conversation, so I guess we're in very different people are in various stages with AI. Some people have never touched it. Some people have touched it. It might have gone wrong for them, so they've given up on it. Some people have fully implemented it in the workplace. I guess, what would your advice be for the people that are scared of it, are worried about it? What should they do? And essentially, what should they do? So.
Come on the course is the obvious answer there. But no, seriously, I think when somebody actually sits down with you and shows you how approachable it is, and today we've been speaking to Emma, there's been no special language. We've just been talking to Emma as we would do any other person. And that's the same with using the AI. And I think when people see that and realise that and understand just a small glimpse of what the possibilities you can do, then they start thinking about how they can use it for them. So get in front of it and use it, I think.
So I say bring it in now, so adopt it now, but don't do anything complicated with it. So if you're not sure, make it do simple things. So the areas like HR is an obvious example. So maybe load up your handbook into it, get it to understand your handbook, and get it then to be able to be an expert on your handbook as step one. So that will save you a lot of time if you're an HR professional. And then step two, maybe start loading up legislation. So you've got two experts, one on your internal policies and procedures, and then an expert on the local legislation. So those are simple things that you can build, and we teach that on the course. And it's not rocket science to do that. If you're capable of using Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel, you can for sure build your own custom AI. So it's just a question of giving people the confidence to do that. And that's what these courses are all about. So I'd say adopt it and use it in simple, small areas and then grow from there.
But I think you also need to understand where it can help you. It's not a silver bullet to every single process you've got in your organisation. You need to look at your workflows and go, actually there, in those customer service responses, that's where it can really, really help me, and focus on that. Or there in social media, it can really, really help me. It's not going to solve all your problems, but certainly start small and give it a go.
So if you build your experience with it, then you'll have the confidence to adopt it more and more. And actually the adoption tools will become easier to use as we go into 2026. So the technology will become easier. I wouldn't say go out now. If anybody from government is listening, I wouldn't say if you're a government, I wouldn't go out and big bang build a big system now today, because it will be obsolete in a year's time. So I'd look at the tools that are coming to help you build these big systems that are coming online towards the middle of next year, and start maybe adopting bigger systems at that time.
Really, really exciting times. Simon, Ian, thanks for your time. And Emma, thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. That's a wrap from me. Goodbye and catch you next time.
Yeah, Emma, before you go, can you just summarise what we talked about? Just what were the top 3 key things that we talked about in your view?
Absolutely. Quick recap style. First, we talked about how businesses in places like Guernsey can start small with AI, keep it practical, and not get overwhelmed. Second, we touched on the importance of balancing AI's potential with ethical and regulatory considerations. And third, we highlighted that getting the workforce on board is key, making sure everyone's ready for that AI-driven change. So those are the big 3.
Brilliant. Thanks, Emma. Goodbye.
You're welcome. Happy to help, and goodbye for now.
Thank you for tuning into this podcast. If you've got all this way, I'm really hoping that you've enjoyed our work. There's a few things you can do, though, to support us. Follow, like, subscribe, share, whatever you can do to help spread the word of The Quarry. The other thing you can do is head on over to our website, where you can become a member and really support independent local news.